There are many names that are synonymous with Formula 1, including legendary drivers as well as legendary racetracks, and of course, legendary teams. Even though many great teams have achieved pole positions and have claimed the top spot on the podium, only a handful of iconic teams have won multiple Constructors' Championships. Throughout F1's long history, there has always been one constant, and that's Scuderia Ferrari. But what makes Ferrari such an iconic team, and why has the Scuderia long been considered one of the greatest? Well, let's find out. Welcome to the FB Club, and this is why Ferrari has been the most successful team in Formula 1 history. Scuderia Ferrari is the racing team of the luxury sports car brand that we're all familiar with. Although Ferrari as a racing team has participated in various motorsport categories, it can be said that the name Scuderia Ferrari mainly refers to the Formula 1 team. In Italian, Scuderia can also be a term that can be used to describe a motorsports team or collective. Although, I think that in Italian, the word Scuderia also has a link to horse racing. You guys let me know in the comments if you know more about this and the true origins. I'm not Italian, I'm sorry. So now, here's a brief attempt at a little history about the team. Scuderia Ferrari was founded in the late 1920s, and it was also named after its founder, Enzo Ferrari. Enzo was also a racing driver who had competed professionally driving for Alfa Romeo. Between the 1930s and 1940s, Enzo also built racing cars for Alfa Romeo, and the Scuderia became the sort of semi-official motorsports racing team that competed under the same company, Alfa Romeo. The Second World War put a stop to racing in Europe, and also stopped the Ferrari racing operation. Not only because of the conflict at the time, but also because the Ferrari factory in Maranello was bombed, and this happened twice, both in 1944 and 1945. After the war, Enzo rebuilt the factory, and actually this is where both the F1 team and the road car HQ is based up to this day. A couple of cool points to note here: the prancing horse was first seen on the Alfa Romeo car at the 1932 Spa 24 Hours in Belgium, with the team finishing first and second. The Ferrari name was first used as a manufacturer in 1947. However, Ferrari's first official entry as a Formula 1 team was at the Monaco Grand Prix in 1950. So now let's take a little closer look at Ferrari's success and how the Scuderia became one of the most legendary teams in all of Formula 1. With the Formula 1 World Championship established in 1950, Scuderia Ferrari entered its inaugural season. Like I said, the team's debut was at the Monaco Grand Prix with 3 drivers: Alberto Ascari, Raymond Sommer, and Gigi Villoresi. Most definitely said that wrong, so I'm very sorry. The Scuderia came away with a podium, with Ascari finishing in second place. The team had to wait for its first win, however, and this came a year later in 1951 at the British Grand Prix in Silverstone, with Argentinian driver Jose Froilán González taking first place. So an interesting note here is that this win actually broke Alfa Romeo's winning streak. A year later, Ascari won the 1952 Drivers' Championship, with Ferrari winning 6 races in a row, in what I guess was a very reliable car at the time. The trend of consecutive wins continued for 1953, where the team won 7 out of the 9 races of the season, culminating in Ascari's second Drivers' Championship under Ferrari, but also this was the last of his 3 titles. Ferrari won again with 2 more victories in the following 1954 season. A win with Gonzalez at the British Grand Prix, and a win with Mike Hawthorne at the Spanish Grand Prix, as well as a single victory in the 1955 season with Maurice Trintignant winning the Monaco Grand Prix, having started from 9th on the grid. The 1956 season saw a return to championship glory. 2 races won by Peter Collins, and 3 races won by Juan Manuel Fangio, with Fangio also winning the 1956 Drivers' Championship. Later, Mike Hawthorne would close up the decade with more Ferrari racing success, as he claimed the 1958 Drivers' Championship for the Scuderia. 1961 was a special milestone year because that saw the Scuderia not only win its first Constructors' Championship, but also the double in Formula 1. So that's when the same team wins both the Constructors as well as the Drivers' World Championship in the same season. With Phil Hill being the driver to win the Drivers' Championship, Phil was also the first American to win the F1 title. Ferrari repeated the double again in the 1964 season, this time winning the Drivers' Championship with John Surtees. Cool bit about Surtees is that he is, to this day, the only person to win a world championship in both two-wheel racing and four-wheel racing. What a crazy guy and talented. However, the Scuderia scored good results outside of winning either championship in the rest of the 60s and early 70s. Ferrari actually went over a decade without any championship titles, until finally winning both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship in 1975. Again, achieving the double with Drivers' Champion Niki Lauda and Clay Regazzoni. Unfortunately, Lauda had his infamous near-death accident at the Nürburgring the following season in 1976 at the German Grand Prix. Even though this derailed his own championship defense, Ferrari still managed to win the Constructors' title that year. Not bad for a back-to-back win a second year in a row. Even though Lauda had the lead in the standings that year, he fell short of the driver's title because James Hunt, who was driving for McLaren, outscored Niki in the World Championship by just a single point. So if you're a fan of racing movies, spoiler alert, this was an interesting cool little bit that's also featured in Rush towards the end of the movie. The movie shows where Lauda withdrew from the last race of the season at the Japanese Grand Prix because of the heavy weather condition. The following year, Niki Lauda was back on the hunt, no pun intended, and actually won the Drivers' Championship with Ferrari, as well as securing the 1977 Constructors' title. This was now Ferrari's 5th title in Formula 1. So not bad for a bit of a winning streak in the 70s, although Ferrari had to wait just a couple of years for their 6th Constructors' title in 1979. Not a bad way to close out the decade, with Jody Scheckter and Gilles Villeneuve driving for the Scuderia. Scheckter also winning the World Championship that same season. And to this day, he remains the only African national to have won both a Formula 1 race and, of course, most importantly, an F1 driver's title. Little spoiler for this video, but worth mentioning that Scheckter would also become the last world driver's champion for Ferrari until the arrival of one Michael Schumacher. But we'll be saving that for a little later. The team carried on their winning streak as Ferrari was champion once again coming into the early 80s. They won the Constructors' Championship in 1982 with drivers Gilles Villeneuve and Didier Pironi. A back-to-back Constructors' title win followed a year later in 1983, this time with drivers Patrick Tambay and René Arnoux, who scored 4 wins that season. Later that decade, the Scuderia finished second in the team's title hunt for the 1988 season. However, a more important moment came in Berger's and Alboreto's special 1-2 for the team at the Italian Grand Prix. This is because the win was dedicated to former team owner Enzo Ferrari, who had sadly passed away earlier that year. Despite not securing any driver's titles in the 80s, the team came very close on a couple of occasions, finishing runners-up with Pironi in 82, as well as with Alboreto in 85. Reigning world champion Alain Prost joined Mansell at Ferrari for the 1990 season, helping the Scuderia score their 100th win at the French Grand Prix. Prost would eventually finish the season in second place, losing out to former teammate and new world champion Ayrton Senna, ironically carrying on their infamous Suzuka feud from the previous season. In arguably one of the most pivotal points for Ferrari, 1996 saw the arrival of already 2-time world champion Michael Schumacher, who was also joined by John Todt and Ross Brawn, all key figures in Ferrari's upcoming resurgence. In his first season, Michael scored 3 wins for the Scuderia at the Spanish Grand Prix, the Belgian Grand Prix, and most notably the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, which is essentially like Ferrari's home race. So this was a bit of a big deal because it marked Ferrari's first home victory since Berger's win in 1988. Ferrari also came very close to the title that season, finishing second in the Constructors' Championship once more. So with so many second place finishes, you would think this was an annual tradition by now. But the team managed repetitive second place finishes in the standings for the 97 and the 98 season as well. The team finished second in the Constructors for the 1997 season, whilst Schumacher scored 5 wins and went into the final round, leading Williams driver Jacques Villeneuve by 1 point. but missed out on the title in part due to a controversial end to the season at the last race of the championship. However, he also managed one better in 1998, taking 6 wins for the Scuderia, including an impressive 3 consecutive wins at Montreal, Magny-Cours, and Silverstone, as well as leading Irvine for another Ferrari 1-2 at Monza, the first for the Tifosi since 10 years earlier in 1988. Finally, the run of repetitive second-place finishes came to an end in 1999. This season marked a return to glory for the Scuderia. The team won 6 races and 17 podiums in that season, earning them that year's Constructors' Championship. Not only would this be Ferrari's first title in well over a decade, with the last one being in 1983, but it would also mark Ferrari's 9th World Championship. Eddie Irvine scored his maiden career win at the season-opening Australian Grand Prix and came close to winning the driver's title, though he would eventually finish second in the Drivers' Championship, losing to Häkkinen by just 2 points, whilst Schumacher scored back-to-back wins at the San Marino Grand Prix and at the Monaco Grand Prix. Although Ferrari was more competitive at the close of the 90s, its true resurgence would come in the 2000s, and the team's legacy would be established. In this decade, Ferrari would achieve a series of record-breaking wins and remarkable accomplishments, but that would not only place but cement the Scuderia at the top of Formula 1. This would also be the decade that saw Schumacher become one of the most decorated drivers of all time. The 2000 season saw Michael win the driver's title with the Scuderia. He would become the first Ferrari driver to win the Drivers' World Championship for over 20 years, something not achieved since Jody Scheckter in 1979. Along with Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari also won that year's Constructors' Championship, which would make it back-to-back wins for the Scuderia. Together, both drivers scored a 1-2 in Australia, with Michael winning the race. Ferrari also scored wins in Brazil, San Marino, Italy, and Japan with Michael, as well as in Hockenheim with Rubens. The 2001 season was more of the same really. Ferrari won the first races in Australia and Malaysia, as well as the Spanish, Monaco, European, French, Belgian, and the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hungary being the race in which Schumacher secured a consecutive Drivers' Championship for the Scuderia, with 4 races still left in the calendar. Ferrari also won their 3rd consecutive Constructors' title this year, with Michael first and Rubens third in the standings. The next year was total Ferrari dominance. Schumacher finished all the races of the 2002 season on the podium. Ferrari won 15 out of the 17 races in the calendar, with Schumacher winning 11 and Barrichello winning 4. Ferrari won another World Constructors' Championship, and Schumacher won another World Drivers' Championship. Michael even matched Juan Manuel Fangio's record of 5 World Championships by this season, which was a record that was set in the 50s. Ferrari continued their winning streak in the 2003 season. The Scuderia grabbed their 13th Constructors' Trophy that year as well, and also the Drivers' Championship. Michael became a 6 times world champion with Ferrari in the last round of the season at the Japanese Grand Prix, surpassing Fangio's record of the most Drivers' Championships ever in the history of Formula 1, which was a record that remained unbroken for 46 years actually. 2004 became a record-breaking season for Ferrari. The Scuderia set new Formula 1 records, winning 13 out of the 18 races that season with Schumacher. A cool nerdy note here is that this was later matched by Vettel with Red Bull, and then most recently surpassed by Max with 15 wins. So this season would also mark Michael's record-breaking 7th Drivers' Championship for Ferrari. He secured the championship with 4 races left in the calendar. Rubens would also provide a 1-2 in the standings for Ferrari, finishing 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. And this remarkable level of dominance meant that the Scuderia would once again become Constructors' Champions for a record-breaking 14th time. After a season of contrasts in 2005 where Ferrari finished 3rd in the Constructors and scored 1 win, the Scuderia came back fighting and more competitive at new rivals Renault in 2006. Unfortunately, the team missed out on the Constructors' title that year, but came in 2nd. The Scuderia also scored a 1-2 at the United States Grand Prix, as well as a first Ferrari win for Massa at the Turkish Grand Prix. The 2007 season marked Schumacher's first retirement, as well as Ferrari's return to the top after winning another Constructors' Championship, which would now become the 15th for the team. 2007 would also be the year that saw a brand new Drivers' Champion for Ferrari in Kimi Raikkonen, and actually, still to this day, the last Ferrari Drivers' Champ. Kimi actually won the title by just 1 point, ahead of Lewis Hamilton and defending champion Fernando Alonso. Kimi was also the first driver to win in his Ferrari debut since Nigel Mansell in 1989. The team also went on to score 9 wins this season, which is not too bad. Kimi also led the title fight at the start of the 2008 season. However, it was Massa who would become the leading Ferrari driver for the Drivers' Championship. Although, in a mirroring turn of events to the previous season, and despite winning the Brazilian Grand Prix, it was this time Massa who lost out by 1 point to Hamilton at the infamous last lap of the 2008 season. However, Ferrari still came out ahead and won the Constructors' Championship for a record-breaking 16th time, in what would actually become the Scuderia's last Constructors' title. To this date though, let's see what happens for the rest of this season, maybe another one in 2024, who knows? There were high expectations coming into the 2010s after two-time world champion Fernando Alonso joined Ferrari. Alonso won on debut for Ferrari at the 2010 Bahrain Grand Prix, joining the likes of Mario Andretti, Nigel Mansell, and Kimi Raikkonen as other iconic drivers to also win their first race for the Scuderia. Ferrari also scored wins in Germany, Singapore, Korea, and in Italy in front of the Tifosi, a home victory not achieved since Michael's in 2006. Fernando came very close to winning the Drivers' Championship for Ferrari, but finished second to Sebastian Vettel after missing out on the title by 5 points. In the 2012 season, Ferrari came in second to Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship. This season saw Alonso score wins for Ferrari in Malaysia and Germany, as well as an iconic home race win in Valencia at the European Grand Prix, as he started 7th on the grid. However, collisions, car failure, and a comeback from Red Bull meant Alonso would also narrowly miss out on the driver's title, finishing second once again to Vettel. So I recommend people really check out the last race of the season at Interlagos. Ferrari signed a new driver, Sebastian Vettel, for the 2015 season. He scored his first Ferrari win in Malaysia, the first Ferrari win since Spain 2013, ending the team's 34 race winless streak. Ferrari won with Vettel again at the Hungaroring and at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. The Scuderia once again scored a second place in the team standings. In 2017, Ferrari scored the team's 225th win in Formula 1, with Vettel taking the checkered flag at the season opener in Australia, the team's first win since the 2015 Singapore Grand Prix. Ferrari took multiple podiums this season. The Scuderia would achieve victories again in Bahrain as well as Monaco, where Vettel led teammate Raikkonen on a 1-2 for the team. This would be Ferrari's first 1-2 finish since 2010. Vettel also became the first driver to win at Monaco for Ferrari since Michael Schumacher had done so 16 years earlier in 2001. The Scuderia would win again at the 2017 Hungarian Grand Prix, also scoring their second 1-2 of the season for the team. Vettel won again in Brazil, helping secure second place in the Constructors for Ferrari. Ferrari would also celebrate their 70th anniversary with a special livery that was used at their home race in Monza. In 2018, the team started the season with a double podium at the opener in Australia, Sebastian Vettel winning the race and Kimi Raikkonen coming in third. Ferrari again finished second in the championship, but a notable point of the season for me was Kimi Raikkonen's win in Austin, which set a new record for the most races between race wins for a driver at 114. The following season saw some changes for 2019, with new driver Charles Leclerc. Charles scored his first win for the Scuderia at the Belgian Grand Prix, as well as a spectacular first win for him at Monza. This would also mark the first Monza win for a Ferrari driver since Fernando Alonso won there for the team in 2010 in front of the Tifosi. The 2019 season also saw Vettel win for Ferrari at the Singapore Grand Prix, in which the team would also score another 1-2, and Ferrari would once again finish the season second in the constructors' standing. 2020 was a milestone season for Ferrari, marking the Scuderia's 1000th Grand Prix start as a constructor at the Tuscan Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz joined the Ferrari team from the 2021 season, replacing Sebastian Vettel. In his debut for Ferrari, Carlos achieved several podiums, which added to Leclerc's one podium in the season. This includes an outstanding drive in Monaco, as well as outscoring teammate Charles. In the 2022 season, the team celebrated their 75th anniversary with the first Ferrari production car. The season's new car, the F175, brought Ferrari their first race win at the season opener in Bahrain, with Leclerc coming in first, followed by Sainz in second, to give Ferrari their first win since the 2019 season, as well as a valuable 1-2 to start the season with. This also ended the team's 45 race streak without a win. Leclerc also secured 2 more wins this season, with a follow-up first place in Australia, as well as a win later in the season at the Austrian Grand Prix. This would be Ferrari's last win of the 2022 season, adding to Leclerc's multiple podiums, as well as some of his own. For his 150th Formula 1 race start, Carlos Sainz got his first win for Ferrari at the British Grand Prix. Ferrari would go on to finish second in the Constructors' Championship, with Leclerc in second and Sainz in fifth in the driver's standing. In the 2023 season, Ferrari secured their only win of the calendar, thanks to Carlos Sainz. He gave a risky and strategic drive to win the Singapore Grand Prix. Also, he was the only other driver, apart from Max, to win a race that season. Although Ferrari announced early that they will extend Leclerc's contract, weeks later and just 2 months into 2024, it was also announced that after 4 seasons with the team, Sainz will be replaced with the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton for the following season in 2025. Sainz gives the Scuderia their first win of the 2024 campaign, taking victory in the Australian Grand Prix, with Charles Leclerc following in second place, giving Ferrari their first 1-2 finish since the 2022 Bahrain Grand Prix. Leclerc added a win at the Monaco Grand Prix, and for the first time ever winning his home race from pole position, becoming the first Monegasque to win the Monaco Grand Prix since Louis Chiron in 1931, and for the first time since the event became part of the Formula 1 World Championship. At the Italian Grand Prix, Ferrari opted to run a one-stop strategy that would eventually pay, giving Leclerc the race win ahead of Piastri and scoring Ferrari's first victory at their home race since 2019, which was actually also won by Charles. Leclerc also took the race win at the United States Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, finishing ahead of teammate Carlos Sainz for another Ferrari 1-2 of the season, also giving Ferrari their first win at COTA since Kimi's victory in 2018. At the next race, Ferrari added to their 2024 wins tally, with Carlos Sainz taking the first place at the Mexico City Grand Prix, the second consecutive win for Ferrari and the 5th in 2024. Well, that's so far as of the making of this video. Let's see if they can catch up and maybe overtake McLaren for the end of the season. With the team's longevity in the sport, years of dominance, and a range of legendary drivers, there's no surprise that Ferrari hold many significant records in Formula 1. But just how successful is Ferrari? Let's find out. But this time with the help of stats and random facts. Here we go. The Scuderia holds the record for the most victories in F1 at 248 and counting, the most drivers' world championships at 15, with the most recent being Kimi. Will Leclerc bring the next one, or will Hamilton do it first? About to see, about to find out. The most constructors' world championships, with an impressive tally at 16 titles, the latest being in 2008. So the real question is, will they surpass McLaren for the 2024 title? Who knows? Who knows? Ferrari has an impressive selection of talented drivers who it won drivers' titles with, including some of the greatest to join the sport. So there are 9 total drivers that include Alberto Ascari, winning in 1952 and 53, Juan Manuel Fangio in 56, Mike Hawthorne in 58, Phil Hill in 1961, John Surtees in 64, Niki Lauda in 1975 and 77, Jody Scheckter in 79, and of course, Michael Schumacher with titles in 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and Kimi Raikkonen winning in 2007, with Raikkonen's title in the 2007 season being the most recent for the team. And here we go, we continue with some more fun stats and random facts. The 2020 Tuscan Grand Prix marked Ferrari's 1000th Grand Prix in Formula 1. Schumacher is the most successful driver of the Scuderia, winning 5 consecutive drivers' titles between 2000 and 2004, as well as 72 Grand Prix for the team. Ferrari won consecutive constructors' titles between 1999 and 2004, making this time the most successful period in the team's history. Ferrari is also the most successful Formula 1 engine manufacturer, with 249 wins at the time of this recording, maybe one more following the Vegas Grand Prix, having scored a single non-Ferrari victory with Scuderia Toro Rosso at the 2008 Italian Grand Prix with Sebastian Vettel. At the time of recording, the Scuderia has collected a total of 825 podiums, over 250 pole positions, over 260 fastest laps, and 87 1-2 finishes. The team has also taken part in the most Grand Prix with over 1,095, competing across all 75 seasons of Formula 1. Ferrari is also known for its very large and passionate fan base, often referred to as the Tifosi. I think the term comes from an Italian word tifoso, but it is used to describe like a really big fan or enthusiast. Let me know in the comments if there's like a more traditional meaning to this, because it'd be pretty cool to find out. Anyways, all I know is that it's common for the media to use this word tifosi when describing fans and the Scuderia, and not just within Italy, but it can also be used to refer for Ferrari fans around the world. So if you like Ferrari, and you like it with a passion, and you're watching this video right now, guess you're also considered part of the Tifosi as well. The Italian Grand Prix at Monza is regarded as the team's home race. This is where you're usually likely to see more Tifosi here than in any other race. Although it is pretty safe to say that there are absolutely massive Ferrari crowds at most of the races in the calendar, especially at the rest of the European races. For me, one of the coolest Tifosi signs is when you see that gigantic Ferrari flag in the stands. So there's some really cool shots of it at Monza, especially when you see it on the TV as the cameras are looking down at it from the podium. So you would also get similar massive Ferrari support sightings back in the day at Ferrari's second hook race, the San Marino Grand Prix. You do so as well now, except the racetrack has been renamed to the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Essentially, both refer to the same Grand Prix race that's held at the Autodromo Enzo de Dino Ferrari, also called Imola, after the nearby town of the same name. It's also a special track for Ferrari, as it is very close to their HQ and factory in Maranello. Some of the coolest, most recent Tifoso sites for me include both Leclerc's wins for Ferrari at Monza in 2019 and recently at the 2024 Italian Grand Prix, the massive Tifosi crowd by the podium and their voice drowned in the TV commentary are almost like true cinema moments. It's almost like a movie. It must be even more spectacular to be there in person. Let me know if you were there. The Grand Prix racing history of Scuderia Ferrari is rich and vast. It can trace its roots back to 1947, but also extends to motorsport outside of Formula 1. GT and prototype endurance racing are also part of Ferrari's notable success. This includes victories in the following racing categories: World Sports Car Championship, the 24 Hours of Le Mans, winning there 9 times, the 24 Hours of Spa, the 24 Hours of Daytona, the 12 Hours of Sebring, the Bathurst 12 Hours, the Targa Florio, winning there 7 times, the Mille Miglia, with Ferrari being an 8-time winner, and the Carrera Panamericana as well. Ferrari also returned to World Endurance Championship competition in 2023, winning the hypercar category at Le Mans, having also won multiple times in the category's predecessor, the Sports Car World Championship. And of course, we can't exclude the multiple Scuderia victories in Formula 1, where for many new fans, Ferrari has become closely associated with F1, especially due to the team's long history with the sport since the Scuderia's first season in 1950. Ferrari is also considered one of the greats of the sport, as one of the F1 giants along with Williams, McLaren, as well as Mercedes, and Red Bull in recent times too. Ferrari has staged their own period of dominance before the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull. It could be said that the team was unbeatable and that Formula 1 was Ferrari in the early 2000s, with the Scuderia winning multiple and consecutive drivers and constructors titles. Ferrari could be considered the most successful team in the history of Formula 1. It is the only team to have raced every single World Championship season since 1950, when the championship began. The team has claimed the most Drivers' Championships and the most Constructors' Championships too, as well as attracted some of the best, the most decorated and iconic drivers in the history of the sport, with the likes of Alberto Ascari, Juan Manuel Fangio, Niki Lauda, Gilles Villeneuve, Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost, Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, Felipe Massa, Kimi Raikkonen, Fernando Alonso, and Sebastian Vettel, amongst others. Of course, also counting with some of the most talented and popular drivers today in current drivers Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, as well as Ferrari-bound Lewis Hamilton for 2025, who will surely have his eyes set on that distant 8th Drivers' Championship and perhaps reigniting another period of dominance for Ferrari, just like Schumacher did in the Scuderia's golden years. You could say that Ferrari had managed the success and have the longevity to be truly considered as one of the greatest teams in the sport. Of course, not everyone has to be a fan of Ferrari to at least acknowledge that they are successful. Are they the one and only greatest in F1? That's up for debate, of course, but their winning records and longevity speaks volumes. I truly think that most drivers, after getting into F1, wouldn't mind driving for Ferrari, for the prestige and to have that unique connection to the Scuderia as a Ferrari driver. After all, not every F1 driver can say that they drove for Ferrari. In terms of its history, legacy drivers, and winning records, I think Ferrari can be considered as one of the greatest teams in Formula 1. To me, however, one of the best aspects of F1 is that there isn't just one great team. Sure, Ferrari's up there in the conversation, and although the team's form hasn't been the best lately, you just never know. Perhaps another resurgence and wave of more Ferrari wins could be around the corner. So thanks again for watching, and if you made it to the end, you're the actual true greatest of all time. This one actually turned out a little longer than I thought. Also, if you like this video and the rest of our shorts, be sure to let us know what you think. Shout out to our great editor as well. So don't miss a single lap, and please join the club and subscribe. Also, as a side note, go to the comments and let me know if you think Leclerc and Sainz can actually spoil the party for McLaren on what's actually left of the season. Maybe they'll take more wins and more podiums off of them, or if you think Hamilton can actually bring the Drivers' Championship to Ferrari before Leclerc. Thank you.